About 100 years ago, a man named Weston Price observed profound declines in health among Aboriginal tribes after they had been exposed to things like refined sugar and flour from the traders. And they began to experience things like dental caries, changes in their bone structure, illnesses such as tuberculosis, and things like suicide that were previously unknown to their culture. There's another unusual person who claims that he can survive and does survive on sunshine alone. A woman who was referred to as Peace Pilgrim, who seemed to truly align with source energy, spoke of the value of eating vegetarian. Various others speak of the value of fasting and cleansing and detoxing. You teach that all illness has an emotional source. How does that fit in with what seems to be profound nutritional influences and these other observations? In other words, what do you see as the relationship between nutrition and wellness, between diet and facilitating divine alignment? I tried to shorten it, but I guess you couldn't.
It was a very good basis for an understanding in how you are energy beings first. We are getting a little bit of a ringing. How you are energy beings first and physical beings next. And we want to talk about how all of that dovetails together. But before we get into the specifics of these very well thought out questions, we want to say to you that when you realize that at the heart of everything that you see is vibration, it is not easy to get across to physical beings who are so adept at translating the vibration of your environment into the physical, sensual experience. We try to find words when we say everything you see is but a vibrational interpretation, and you don't even all see precisely the same way. What you hear is a vibrational interpretation, and you know that you don't hear the same when you see yourselves hearing differently, or you watch your beasts hearing things that you cannot hear. So we're just wanting to softly, we won't spend a lot of time there, but we just want to at least raise the subject a bit, that life is perceptual, and you really do experience life as you behold it. So you make a very good case for the case that we make. And what we mean by that is, one of the things, in fact, the primary reason that we are so interested in getting all of you to become oriented to the idea of, is this thought that I'm thinking right now an upstream thought or a downstream thought, is because when you try to measure your thoughts in relationship to other people's thoughts, you get all kinds of distorted information, and that really is sort of what we're about to embark upon here if we get too carried away in what this one said when he did this study and what this one said when he had this experience, because everything that you believe affects everything that comes to you. So there are no true studies that would operate the same way across the board, because the vibrational intent of the one studying, or of the belief of the one studying, influences outcome dramatically. Again, we're just laying a basis for the answers that we're going to give you next. So when you begin to accept that, let's start in another place. We are not wanting to ask you to extract yourself from the magnificence of the physical realm and become a vibrational thinking being only, because you're here as extensions of source and you want to play in this physical realm. And the physical, sensual stuff and the stuff that you eat, the stuff that you touch and feel and do is all essential to your expansion. And we are not wanting to ask you to turn away from it. But at the same time, we want to say, at a bare minimum, that if you are tending to your vibration by paying attention to whether your thoughts are predominantly downstream or upstream, which means, are my thoughts predominantly in alignment with who I really am, or am I pinching myself off? How much of me is present in this moment is the question. Am I allowing myself to be full of the broader aspect of me? When you ask that question first and you tend to your vibration, now everything that you are called to is in harmony with the well-being that you seek. In other words, there is not one path to well-being. You could have lived life and have created a vibrational escrow where you are intending wellness, profound wellness, vitality, stamina, clarity. And you could live in an environment where there was an abundance of beef available. In fact, pretty much only that. And your inner being would or could call you toward, and you would feel the inspiration to participate in large quantities of that. And as the inspiration is calling you and you feel eagerness about it, that would be a diet that would cause you to thrive. You could live in a part of the world where that is not readily available, where all kinds of berries and fruits and roots and things are what is easily available. And as you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and thinking downstream thoughts, as so many people like that are, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So the call of Source would give you the inspiration to gravitate toward that, and you would thrive. It is possible in alignment to thrive under a myriad of dietary conditions. And it's an interesting thing. We see people around your planet who have far less to choose from, far less to choose from than those in the Western world, so to speak, who are much healthier because their environment and the way they approach life is much more in alignment. So here's what we're getting at. Someone in alignment with Source can eat darn near anything and thrive. Someone not in alignment with Source is, no matter what you do to try to compensate through your action and through your diet, will not thrive in the way. And so if you realize that your body is a veritable chemical factory that can extract from the fuel that you give it whatever it needs whenever it needs it. And the rhythm of your body knows how to combine these foods to produce different chemicals, if you will. It's not the best word, but the best one Esther can find, that produces whatever fuel and nutrients that your body is looking for. Your bodies are so much more resilient and capable than any of you know. You have the potential to thrive under amazing dietary conditions, provided you are still tuned into Source. Now, it's a whole other thing when you're not tuned into Source. And we want to say to you that those Aborigines who were healthy before they got that refined sugar were not affected by the refined sugar. They were affected by the environment that began to consume them as the Westerners began invading their space, finding fault with the way they lived, projecting their poisonous thoughts, not their poisonous foods, and upsetting their vibrational apple carts, you see. But that's a hard thing to study, isn't it? Helpful?
Yes.
So now what?
As we are aligned and we are emotionally well, then we are essentially immune to toxins, for example, in the environment.
In alignment to well-being, you're immune from anything that is not well-being.
So there are certain tools, if I can put it that way.
Now, before you go further, we're going to interrupt you just for a moment because we want to amplify that point because it's a strong one, really worth taking in. In alignment with Source, and therefore in alignment with well-being, and therefore consistently feeling good, that's how I know I'm in alignment, you would be immune to anything that is not well-being. So you would be immune to toxins, you would be immune to bombs dropping on you. You would be immune to car accidents. You would be immune to hijackers. In other words, now someone not understanding energy and vibration and law of attraction and well-being and who you really are might say, but wait, I could take any person, no matter how aligned they are, and I could club them about the head, and I could negatively impact their experience. And we say, the universe will not assist you in rendezvousing with someone. In other words, those intentions just don't line up. And there are people who believe that they could choose a target and they could make anything that they want happen, but they do not understand law of attraction. Now, it's a little tricky, and the reason that we've offered that dramatic, we've taken you off your track a little bit, that dramatic negative scenario, is because we want you to understand that only if you, after your alignment with Source, were to look at something as potentially dangerous, could it be to you. Because in your attention, even in your word toxin, in your acknowledgement of illness, in your awareness of not well-being, those projections of thought cause you to cause enough resistance in your vibration that now law of attraction is responding not just to the vibration of wellness that you have predominantly going, but to the vibration of worry or fear. In other words, your television is the biggest culprit that we have ever witnessed in all of humanity, as it force feeds to you all of that information relative to your vulnerabilities. You just can't watch television for any length of time. Esther was shocked the other day wanting to find weather and finding out that on the Weather Channel it was full of all of that information. And for a while she laughed at them, and later on just got annoyed by them, and then worried about all of humanity, and then realized that all of those thoughts were upstream and found it easier to just turn it off than to find her place within it. But your thoughts are the heart of everything that you are living, and especially what is going on with your body. Most of what happens that you would call of a negative nature to your physical body, however, is not because you're thinking thoughts of sickness or even thoughts of toxins. Most of it is because you're worried about that and fussing about that and mad about that, and in other words, you're using a lot of different things, not you are using a lot of different things as your object of attention, your upstream object of attention, which you use as your excuse to deprive yourself of the connection which is necessary for utter wellness. But you are really resilient. Look how well you do. You think far from pure positive thoughts, and yet you mostly thrive, you see. And almost without exception, a person experiencing something less than thriving, if you visit with them for just a little while, you can easily get to the vibrational root of what's gone wrong. We encourage scientists and physicians to look for vibrational causes and stop looking for cures. Because until you get to the vibrational root of the resistance, a new disease will just squirt out in a different way. Something more?